When we think about Ireland, images of green landscapes, rocky coastlines, traditional communities, and people living closely with nature often come to mind. Robert Flaherty's Man of Arran, released in 1934, is one of the films that helped create this kind of image. The film appears to document the everyday lives of people living on the Aran Islands, focusing on fishing, farming, and survival against the Atlantic Ocean. However, Man of Arran is not simply a record of everyday life. Instead, Flaherty constructs a particular vision of Ireland. This video essay will argue that Man of Arran idealises Irish island life by presenting the Aran Islanders as strong, traditional, and almost completely defined by their struggle against nature. One of the most important parts of the film is its landscape. Flaherty repeatedly places the islanders against enormous cliffs, rocks, and waves. The people often appear small compared with the surrounding landscapes. This makes nature seem powerful and threatening. The sea is not simply part of the background, it becomes one of the main characters of the film. The islanders have to work with and against the sea in order to survive. Fishing is dangerous, boats are small, and the waves appear enormous. This creates a dramatic idea of island life where survival depends on courage and physical strength. The result is an image of the islander as a kind of heroic figure.
Throw it over.
This is particularly important when we consider the film's representation of masculinity. The men are primarily associated with physical labor and dangerous activities such as fishing and hunting. Their strength is shown through their ability to face the natural environment. Rather than presenting everyday life as ordinary, Flaherty turns work into a spectacle. The islander is therefore presented not just as a worker, but as someone who represents human survival against nature. The same idea can be seen in the film's representation of farming. The rocky landscape makes agriculture difficult, yet the islanders are shown creating soil using seaweed and growing potatoes. The film presents this as another example of people overcoming an almost impossible environment. It creates a romantic image of self-sufficiency, people working with their hands, producing their own food, and surviving without the modern world. However, this is where the Man of Arran becomes more complicated. Although the film presents itself as a documentary, some of the events shown were reconstructed for the camera. The most famous example is the basking shark hunt. Flaherty presents the shark hunt as an exciting part of island life, with men fighting against the sea to capture the animal. However, shark hunting in this form had not been a normal part of life on the Aran Islands for decades. Flaherty therefore recreated an older practice for the film. The Irish Film Institute describes Man of Arran as stretching the definition of documentary because Flaherty recreated events from the island's past. This changes the way we can understand the film. Flaherty was not simply asking, what does life on Arran look like? He was also creating a story about what he believed island life represented. This connects to James Carney's argument that Man of Arran operates almost like a foundation myth. Carney argues that the film's representation of the islanders connects with the ideas of Irish nationalism and self-determination. In this sense, the islanders become more than individuals. They become symbols of Ireland that is independent, traditional, and closely connected to the land. Sarah E. McKibben offers another important perspective. She described Flaherty's representation of the islanders as highly romanticised and argues that the film makes them appear more isolated from modernity than they actually were. This is important because the film largely removes signs of modern Irish life. Instead, we see rocks, boats, farming, fishing, and physical labour. The island becomes almost timeless. There are very little sense that the people of Arran were living in a changing 20th century Ireland. Ultimately, Man of Arran does not simply show us what Irish island life was like. It creates a particular idea of what Irish island life means. Through its dramatic landscapes, dangerous seas, physical labour, and reconstructed traditions, the film presents the Aran Islanders as heroic people living in harmony and sometimes conflict with nature. This vision is beautiful and powerful, but it is also idealised. The film tells us less about the complete reality of life on the Aran Islands and more about the image of Ireland that Flaherty wanted to create. So when watching The Man of Arran, we should not only ask, is this what life on the Aran Islands looked like? We should also ask, why has Flaherty chosen to make Ireland look this way? That question reveals how Man of Arran transforms Irish island life into a cinematic myth, one built around nature, tradition, struggle, and survival.